Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. We are processing together this horrible tragedy in Connecticut. 27 people, including 18 children, are dead. I'm looking at a piece from the Hartford Courant posted at 2:11 Eastern Time. That'd be 1:11 Central Time. So this is just a little more than a half hour ago. And says that there are at least 20 shooting victims. Most of the shootings took place in a kindergarten classroom. One entire classroom is unaccounted for, said the sources. The shooter is dead and the situation is now secure. There's an earlier report that a body was found, or they thought there was a body, perhaps a body in the home of the shooter. Now, there have actually been two people that have been suspected here. The shooter is dead. There was a second individual that they believe has some connection to this who was arrested. They tracked him down in the woods. He says he had nothing to do with it. Fox News is indicating that the shooter, the connection that the shooter had to the school was that his mother was on the staff there. So we don't know anything more than that, whether she was a teacher, whether she worked in the school office. So that is the latest that we know. If you'd like to join our conversation as we process this together, 888-589-8840 is the number to call. Let's go to Stephen in Gulfport, Alabama. Stephen, you're on Focal Point. What's on your mind?
God bless you, Brian. There's too many sad days in America now.
Oh, it sure is, aren't there?
I just want to put the people in remembrance of what Jesus said, because he was asked about this. He was asked specifically, what about these offenses where children are taken or children are injured? And he said, there must need be offenses for men to be allowed to act out their testimonies. But then he said, don't worry. All the children are mine. He said, the angel, these little ones are always beholding the face of our Father. And he said, basically, part of you's here and part of you's in heaven. And the greater part, which is love like Christ, is in heaven. And that can't be taken away. So whenever any child comes to God, any of us, he can do with us whatever he will at any time and offers up in any testimony. And the same thing, if a person hardens their heart against God, then he can do with them whatever he will. But he knows from the womb. He knows the heart from the womb, but he gives time for all of us to find place of repentance. And that's the same as saying to reface him wholly from a pure heart.
Well, and, there is no question. Jesus said in the passage that you referred to, and thank you for your call. Appreciate that. Jesus said, look, if you cause one of these little ones to stumble, it'd be better for you to have an anvil, millstone, very, very heavy stone, tied around your neck and to be thrown into the depths of the sea than that you would cause one of these little ones to stumble. So there is no question that that shooter, who is now dead from what we understand, is going to pay the worst possible price that any human being could pay. Looking at a piece here, again, dated at 1:15, referring to this atrocious situation at Newtown, Connecticut. 9 of those killed are adults. 18 are children. The gunman is dead, was found dead inside the school. It's not known how he died, whether he was shot, perhaps by a school resource officer, or whether he took his own life, which is fairly typical in these mass shootings, that the shooter will take his own life when authorities are closing in. The gunman is believed to be 18 to 20 years old. It says here, according to CBS News, that he got into an argument with people at the front office, possibly the principal, at about 9:30. So apparently he may have been in the building before the doors were locked. People have to be buzzed in before entering the school, and there is a camera to view whoever is entering the building. So we're still not sure whether he was buzzed in or whether he maybe let himself in before the doors were locked. 2 semi-automatic weapons have been recovered from the scene. Semi-automatic, different, of course, than a full automatic. A semi-automatic, 1 round is fired for every pull of the trigger. You can't just make 1 pull of the trigger and fire multiple rounds. That is an automatic weapon. So again, we will give you more information as it comes to us. Let's go back to our phones, 888-589-8840. Let's go to Jim in Richmond, Virginia. Jim, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
The comment about the shooting. I work at a school as a school crossing guard, and as far as the resource officers, being that they've cut back so much on budgets, you got like 10 resource officers covering like 40 schools, and they rotate them, so there's not always one there.
Well, and that, maybe there's a good chance that happened in Connecticut. Maybe they have a school resource officer that's assigned to that school, but on a rotating basis might have been somewhere else.
Yes, and it just makes me want to talk to my management that because I sit here after I cross the kids, I'm here for a while afterwards, that maybe I need to get a concealed carry if I see somebody coming like that, you know?
Well, and that's, that's part of the purpose of the Second Amendment is for us to be able to defend ourselves and the people that we love, the people that we care for, and the people that we have a responsibility to protect. The reason for the Second Amendment is not to go out and randomly shoot people, but it's to protect yourselves and the people that you love. All right, Jim. Well, listen, I appreciate the call. Thank you for that. Let's go to Brian in Conway, Arkansas. Brian, Conway, Arkansas, you're on with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hey, man, there's just a bunch of fail in this whole deal. When this happens, of course, everybody's surprised. I don't think we should be. You've taken God out of the schools. This monster, obviously 18, 20 years old, hadn't been out of school very long at all, and he didn't learn anything about the Lord, obviously, or anything about the Bible for that matter. And we allow our government to strip our Second Amendment rights and for others to tell us when we can defend ourselves and when we can't and that sort of thing. And, when, like you were saying, when you don't have someone in the school, whether a principal or someone else that does have a concealed carry, ability, then, how do we protect ourselves? It's obviously going to come down to some type of gun control, but like a woman talked about on an earlier show, it doesn't matter whether a man's got a knife or a baseball bat or a gun, if they're intent, which it sounds like this guy was, with a bulletproof vest and all this other garb. He was intent on, obviously, inflicting a lot of carnage. So thank you very much for your show.
Okay, thank you, Brian, for the call. And, and Brian's exactly right. I'm looking at a story here from this morning, CNN, about a knife attack at a Chinese school. 22 children are wounded in a knife attack. So it's not just guns that people can use to lethal intent. And back to what Brian was just saying, I want to just rest on this just for a second. The question's going to come up, well, where was God? I thought God cared about the little children. God protected the little children. Where was God when all this went down? And here's the bottom line. God is not going to go where he's not wanted. Now, we have spent since 1962, we're 50 years into this now, we have spent 50 years telling God to get lost, telling God we do not want you in our schools. We don't want to pray to you in our schools. We don't want to pray to you before football games. We don't want to pray to you at graduation. We don't want anybody talking about you in a graduation speech. We don't want anybody referring to you. We don't want your word read in our schools. So in 1962, we kicked prayer out of the schools. In 1963, we kicked the word of God out of schools. In 1980, we kicked the Ten Commandments out of schools. We've kicked God out of our public school system. And I think God would say to us, hey, I'll be glad to protect your children, but you got to invite me back into your world first. I'm not going to go where I'm not wanted. I am a gentleman. I think back when I was in elementary school, we had prayer in schools, and we didn't need guns. I'm going to repeat that. Back when we had prayer, the Bible, and the Ten Commandments in schools, we did not need guns. So what I'm going to suggest to you is the ultimate solution here is not the Second Amendment, but the First Amendment that guarantees, protects the free exercise of religion. It's time to get a little bit of that free exercise of religion back into our public schools. And maybe it's time for some school boards and administrators to say, look, we don't care. The lives of our children are just too important to us. We are going to pray in our schools. At the beginning of the day, we're going to pray for protection. And I don't care what the Supreme Court says. I don't care what anybody says. Our children are too important to us to leave them vulnerable without asking God for his help and for his protection, and to leave them vulnerable to no moral instruction. We're going to start teaching them the principles and the moral standards of the Ten Commandments once again. Let's go one more phone call before the end of the hour. Let's go to Taddy in Hartsville, South Carolina. Taddy, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
I agree with you 100%. When I went to school, we had morning prayer, and there was none of this stuff. My heart goes out to those families. I was sitting at home watching it on CNN, and now I'm sitting in my car line waiting for my 12-year-old daughter to come out, and when she comes out, I'm going to give her the biggest hug.
Oof. Wow.
My heart goes out to them. I live in South Carolina now, and I was born and raised in Connecticut, not far from Newtown, and I know where that school is, and it's a quaint little town, and everybody waves and says hi. You know, it's just, my heart goes out to them.
All right, Taddy. Well, listen, thank you for your call, and boy, you give that 12-year-old daughter an extra special hug. A lot of parents are going to be doing that today. Man, if my kids were anywhere within range, they'd be getting the biggest, strongest hug from their dad that they could possibly get. So you got a child, I don't care how old they are, you give them a big hug and you thank God for their safety and their life and their protection. And again, I think the ultimate lesson out of this is when we had prayer in schools, we didn't need guns. When we invited God into our schools, when we made the presence of God welcome in our schools, when we invited him into our schools, we honored him, we honored his word. We didn't need guns because we had God. Focal Point AFR Talk.